Can you say friends, talking, nerdy? Close enough.
If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I want to talk to you. Friends talking nerdy.
Welcome to Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim the Nerd, and seated next to me we have a newly coiffed Smurfette here, Professor Aubrey. And this week, if we do our jobs correctly, we're going to tickle the ivories and talk about some of our favorite songs that include keyboards, but keyboards in the most expansive sense, not limited to one type of keyboard like a piano.
It could even be like an invented thing because Del Shannon of Runaway fame, in Runaway, they are playing a not a typical keyboard. Instead, it's this thing called a musica. I'm looking it up right now because it is an interesting piece of information.
While you're doing that, yes, definitely familiar with Del Shannon. He was born in West Michigan. I believe it's up a little bit up north from Grand Rapids, but he was born in Coopersville, Michigan.
Cooper's own?
Coopersville, Michigan.
Oh, Coopersville.
Yes.
Okay, it's called the Musitron. So it's this completely unique sound because it's a completely unique instrument. Anyway, expansive view of keyboards.
Indeed, because, just like guitars, for instance, if there was only ever an acoustic guitar ever and, nothing else, that's only, giving you one type of sound, whereas with adding electric to it, even, adding electric, you can do it to acoustics. I mean, there are some acoustics that are built to be able to support connecting to a speaker and playing on there. The beauty of having different types of instruments out there is that you do get different types of sounds, like the Musictron. Time back.
Yeah, exactly. The Musictron.
Yeah, but more than anything, if you have listened to us before in the past when we talk about music, we talk about music in terms of celebrating it, which in this case, we wanted to do just a little bit of a focus on one particular instrument and the songs that we have currently in our favorites list. Favorites, of course, just means something that means something to us. If it doesn't mean something to you, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about you dive into your list?
Okay, my list, the best list. I mean, I don't know if we want to have some kind of competition here, but
Have another competition on the website?
I'm just telling you that my songs are better than yours.
Well, then we'll make it official. Future Tim, we will have Future Tim, of course. When I say that, is me, but Future Tim is the editor of the show and the web designer. So when we say that, it's me, but a different me. But anyway,
A future you,
yes, future
right?
me.
That is manipulating this podcast in the future.
Exactly, and loving every second of the editing process.
Well, you've been doing it for quite a long time.
Yeah, but definitely have gotten better, and getting better at editing audio means taking longer to, sculpt it, because I compare it to sculpting. You're really just taking off the parts that don't need to be there to leave the parts that do need to be there.
Mm-hmm. Sort of like creating negative space.
Exactly.
And then filling the negative space with other stuff.
Yes, but speaking of that, we'll add a poll on the website, friendstalkingnerdy.com. It will have a link for Audrey's playlist that she's about to go to, and I have a link to my playlist. And you,
Timothy,
what?
you just called me Audrey, and it's recorded.
Well, I misspoke. I apologize.
It's okay. I accept your apology. I'm just really surprised that we're, almost 6 years into our relationship, and you just called me a different name.
For the first
For the first
on
time.
accident. I mean, but Aubrey, her playlist, the professor, Aubrey will be.
Now you're adding an additional syllable.
Why not make it fancy? I am Aubrey.
Aubrey.
Yes. We'll have the professor's playlist on the website. We'll have my playlist, and you, our friends at home, will have a chance to be able to vote on which one you prefer. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's just about preference.
Exactly, and maybe once the results come in, we'll be able to pat ourselves on the back. The last time we did do it, in terms of putting up the music wet game, I did win that poll. Well, anyway, how about you dive into your list before we screw it up more? What's number one?
It is the great Billy Preston, his performance in Get Back, the Beatles' iconic hit from Let It Be album. I feel like, Billy Preston's contributions were recognized by the Beatles and demonstrates that if you could get John Paul, Ringo, and
Steve. And George.
And George. I can't even remember all the Beatles.
It's that type of episode, folks. Thank you for listening.
Okay. So, anyway, he's the only musician to ever get a writing credit on a Beatles song. It was not a Beatle. And it was for this song. And it's just really great. And they played it on a rooftop.
That they did. Knowing a bit of the history there, Billy Preston was one of the musicians that toured with Little Richard, who, when Little Richard was touring the Great Britain in the early 60s, happened to have an opening act called The Beatles.
Wow.
And there's even a picture of Little Richard with the Beatles. Little Richard doesn't look totally enthused, but still knew that he had to put on a show. I guess I'll put it that way. But having said that, long term, they were all friends and respected each other and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Little Richard, though, loved to joke around. Oh my God, they can't sing like me. Stuff like that. But Billy Preston was one of many future legends that worked with Little Richard, who ended up going on doing his own stuff.
Which must have really bothered Little Richard.
Well, on the one hand, I'm sure maybe if we were talking about somebody, like if you were an artist and you had another artist assist you in some way, they were not responsible for the main piece of art, but a contributor to your art. If you had that side person go off and then do their own thing and make a lot more money than you ever made, I'm sure envy could potentially kick in. But also, by the time Billy Preston's career was starting up, that was the late 60s, early 70s, where Little Richard became a Seventh-day Adventist minister.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was off the pop culture grid there for a while in the 70s, but ultimately came to peace with his rock and roll past, and in the 80s started going out singing again.
Thank goodness. All I have to say, I love Little Richard.
Yes. But that was the connection of the Beatles with Billy Preston, and it is very much documented that if the Beatles had gone on past Abbey Road, because even though Let It Be is their last released album, the last album they recorded was the release beforehand, Abbey Road.
Mm-hmm.
If they had survived past that, Billy Preston would have been a member of the band.
Yeah, the fifth Beatle.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that the work that he's on, it just feels richer, particularly those takes from when it's just them in the room. They didn't have any symphonic accompaniment. You know what I'm saying? Like it fills in a place.
I get it. Think about it like food. It's like a generic food item. I don't want to say something and have you be like, oh, I don't like that food. But just like a generic food item that is somehow made more special by adding a different type of spice to it.
Sure, like you could take the dumpling.
I don't like that.
Every culture has a dumpling. and they taste different because of what you put in them. Not, but the dough is all the same everywhere, pretty much.
Yes, and we'll be talking more about dumplings when you talk about your experiences at the fair.
That's right.
All right. But any other thoughts on Get Back?
Nope. What's your first one, Tim?
All right, my first one is also by a British invasion band, one of the big three, The Who. It's Baba O'Reilly, the opening track off of their classic album, Who's Next? An album that we actually reviewed on the show before in our archives.
Are they long ago archives?
Long ago archives, yeah. So that was
Probably a 3-hour episode.
yeah, where we did the usual talking start. That was the start of the era where the subtopics started the show, and then we went to the main event, which was the review. And we've learned the hard way the importance of flipping that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also not doing complete album reviews because none of us involved have ever been, musicians of any real sort. So who are we to really comment that deep, I guess?
Yeah, it's pretty. The album reviews get pretty deep.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, Bob O'Reilly, classic track. One of the first, I don't believe it is the first, but it is one of the first songs popular songs that incorporated the synthesizer.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so the opening bit of the song opens up with a synthesizer. Apparently, Pete Townsend programmed it with information about a spiritual figure he follows, Meher Baba, and that's what supposedly came out the opening to Baba O'Reilly. So good for him there. But also, once the song really starts kicking in, it kicks in with a piano. It's just 3 chords, boom, boom, boom. Over and over again, nothing complicated, and I've found that on a piano myself before in the past, but still sonically mixed in with Bob O'Reilly, it just fucking amazing. But I got a couple bits of trivia here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
All right. The title of the song is a mashup of 2 of Pete Townsend influences, Meher Baba, that I spoke of, an Indian spiritual guru, and Terry Riley, a minimalist composer who was one of the first pioneers of the synthesizer.
Interesting.
Yep, the iconic synth loop wasn't played live on a keyboard. It is a sequencer loop generated by an early Lowry organ, simulating Townsend's concept of music made by computers responding to a person's vital signs.
Whoa. Pete Townsend is a weird... Oh, was a weirdo. I don't know. Is he dead?
No. Is one of your heroes who you annoyed? Is he dead? No, he's alive. He's currently working on the debut of the ballet version of Quadrophenia in London.
Whoa.
Yeah. Lastly, though, this song did come from an abandoned project that the Who were going to do called Lifehouse. It was a dystopian sci-fi rock opera that didn't come to fruition until many, many years later because Pete Townsend did put out a Lifehouse box set where he took all of the demo recordings that he did for that, plus, thanks to working with the BBC, actually came up with a script for what he wanted the Lifehouse. It was originally supposed to be a movie. And then, the songs from, the songs that ended up on the album for the most part were ones that were going to be in the movie, like Bubble Wrap. So one of those concepts, like you and I actually reviewed his album Psychedelic, his solo album. Yeah, the look on your face right now, Leo.
My eyes got really big.
Yeah.
Hoping that I'd never have to listen to that again.
I still have a soft spot in my heart for that. Talking it out in terms of that review, it's an album that I can understand why people don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still something.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, one of the big criticisms I think that is genuine and legit for this particular case is he has bigger ideas than he ultimately knows how to execute properly. And so I think, the whole Lifehouse thing may have been because some of the whole Lifehouse concept ideas that he had were kind of s- in a weird way, kind of like showed what the internet would end up being.
Ah,
So there is that.
so he was a visionary.
In some ways, yeah. In the 2000s, he actually had a website that you could go to and put in, similar to what he did with Bob O'Reilly, that you'd go to his website and it would produce music for you based on the information that you put in. And I did that.
How was it?
Unique, but yeah, it's not going to be top of the pops anytime soon. But uh, also, too, at the end of the day, it's one of those just great songs to listen to with headphones on because you have them on, you're walking outside, and it feels like it's like a soundtrack blaring at you. That it's like you're in a living movie when that song is on there. Or if you like CSI, hey, CSI is on there, right?
I didn't know there was a connection.
Well, with CSI, yeah, I mean, that's how memorable it is. We've talked about before, though, that The Who actually licensed some of their songs as CSI theme songs. Every CSI show has a
Right,
theme song for The Who.
right. Which is bizarre.
It's not bizarre, it's called economics. Also, just,
But like, how did those people get hooked up?
well, Jerry Bruckheimer produced that. Are you familiar with his name?
No.
He got famous as a producer. One of his first big hits was Top Gun in the 80s, but
Oh,
he
yeah.
ended up producing a lot of Michael Bay's films in the 90s, like Armageddon, The Rock, ones we were talking about because we were watching The Imagination, an episode of South Park before we started recording. But also ended up producing the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. So when you think of Bruckheimer, just scope and spectacle and blah, blah, blah.
Right, okay.
The economics I was talking about was basically the economics of the music industry because the CSI show first hit when the internet was it was the first big, really, in terms of what we think of the internet today. And that was also the era of the birth of piracy.
Ah.
So the music industry had to find different ways to make money off of their songs. So that's why, uh, for like Thor Ragnarok, you heard a Led Zeppelin song for years. Led Zeppelin did not let their music appear in any film,
Uh-huh.
but people get their music in different ways these days, and sadly, that means more known songs in commercials as TV
Yeah,
show theme songs and stuff like
yeah.
that.
I mean, I think a good example from my life is Across 110th Street, which is an awesome song, but it was used as the title credits or the title, or the first credits, the opening scene of Foxy Brown,
Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown. And the people have said to me that they know the song from that, which makes me feel weird because that's not where I know the song from. I know the song from some much more esoteric source because I never have seen Jackie Brown.
Hmm.
So I was unaware that it was in that movie, and it wasn't until I sang the song in karaoke that somebody told me that they knew the song from Jackie Brown.
Yep. I'm surprised you never saw Jackie Brown being a Tarantino fan.
I know, am I a Tarantino fan? I think I like him begrudgingly.
No.
I wouldn't call myself a fan.
You like maybe one or two movies, but
No, I respect him as an artist, but I don't
like him as a person.
like him as a person.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's Bob O'Reilly.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead with my number two. We're making such progress.
Let's do
see.
it.
Okay.
Number two.
Number two. Number two with the bullet is Stevie Wonder's great hit, Superstition. So everybody just think of the opening to that with that riff that is so famous and it's used in so many films, TV episodes, on stage performances. It is such a great riff that you just, for me, when I hear it, I just imagine like John Travolta from the 70s walking down the street. Do, 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 do. Anyway, great song. And an interesting bit is that Stevie Wonder did not write this song to sing and play himself. Do you know who he wrote it for?
Jeff Beck.
How do you know these things?
Instead of going to college, I learned pop culture trivia, you know. But I mean, Jeff Beck is one of the premier, was sadly did pass away recently, but one of the premier guitar gods of the 60s and 70s. He was one of the people, along with Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page, that were in the Yardbirds. But in the 70s, he branched out into the Jeff Beck group, whose first lead singer was this fellow you may have heard of by the name of Rod Stewart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Rod Stewart ended up being much more famous than Jeff Beck.
Yeah, but, you know, for as gross of a human being as Rod Stewart is, I think he would still be the first to say he wouldn't have a career because of Jeff Beck.
Right.
Yeah. I'll at least give him that. Rod Stewart's gross. Anyway, yeah, I guess if I remember correctly with Jeff Beck, what he did, his big contribution was the initial drum fill.
Ah.
You know, so, and then Stevie essentially took it from there. Jeff Beck, I believe, also does have his own version of Superstition that he released, but people know the Stevie Wonder version more than anything, so let's be honest.
Yeah. And you can't have a list of, I don't think that one can have a list of favorite keyboard featuring songs that doesn't include Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel bad that I kind of slept on his career for as long as I did, because the first time I became aware of him was the era of I Just Called to Say I Love You.
Mm.
And I still think that song is sappy as hell. Just not for me. If I had heard Superstition first, or even something like Higher Ground that the Red Hot Chili
Higher Ground is
Peppers,
so good.
yeah, ended up covering in the late 80s, like, he was putting out some amazing stuff. There's also a bootleg out there called A Toot and a Snore. It is a bootleg of the last recording session that John Lennon and Paul McCartney ever did in the mid-70s. Stevie Wonder was there. They had a few other musicians there, and they were all high on coke, you know.
Okay.
And so that's why nothing ever came of it, because everybody was just too high to, you know, play or do their job correctly. But he's on it.
And so have they released this?
No, it's a bootleg. It's never been officially released, but
Can you get it?
Future Tim will put the link in the show profile. But yes, you can go to YouTube and listen to this bootleg. Like back in the day, you had to like go through like music magazines or go to the right record shops in your town and
Know the right people.
know the right people to have some bootlegs, because bootlegs are product that are being put in that is being put out that was not officially released by the artist. So it is stealing, you know. But some people do like to listen to some of that stuff. I've been intrigued enough to download an audio file of it before, so I never bought the official thing. But back in my piracy days, I did listen to it, and I understand why it was never released officially.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd really like to hear it.
Yeah. We'll definitely watch it later.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway. Any other thoughts?
Nope.
Should I go on to my next one?
Yes, you should.
All right. My next choice, we had to go into the 80s for this right here. And this group surprised a lot of people with this album, because they did use a lot more keyboards and synthesizers than they ever have in the past. And that kind of, one, was a foreshadowing of where the band was going to go, but two, kind of turned off some of their fans as well, since it did sound so different. Van Halen. And I'm not talking about Jump here, because Jump would be the obvious answer, because it does have that iconic keyboard going, ding, 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 you know. I just sounded real bad doing that, but anyway, you all know what I mean at home. But what I want to talk about is the track that opens side 2 of that album, that was co-written by Michael McDonald.
Oh.
Yeah, from the Doobie Brothers.
Doobies.
Yes, I'll wait. I love this song. It really does sound like something you would hear in like a thriller, or like a Private Eye movie or something like that. It has that vibe, that ambiance with the keyboard. You know, Eddie Van Halen does not get enough credit. I get he gets a lot of credit for the guitar, obviously, but people don't really give him as much credit in terms of the other stuff he did when it came to music, like his work on the synthesizers. But like I mentioned, the song was co-written with Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers, though on early pressings of the album he was not credited. And it's one of the rare Van Halen songs to feature keyboard as the lead instrument and not Eddie Van Halen's guitar, which is an important distinction because, with the Sammy Hagar era, all the way to their last album, they always had space for keyboards of some sort, whether, it be electric stuff, synth, or piano. If you think of a song right now from the Fun Lawful Carnal Knowledge. I mean, that opened up with a piano riff right there. So it's an instrument that stayed in their repertoire for the rest of their career. And David Lee Roth, your favorite human, who would,
He's just a gigolo,
Yeah, I mean, if he had his own kid show, there would be strippers involved. He was inspired to write the lyrics after seeing a Playboy magazine ad featuring a woman in men's underwear. I stand by what I said in terms of how the feeling the song gives me when I listen to it, because it's David Lee Roth. The lyrics are deep, and they're vague enough to where you could read more into it and not read into it the fact that he was getting a stiffy looking at an ad in a dirty magazine.
I definitely don't want to think about him as stiffy.
Okay,
but thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, how about my next one?
Yeah, so what is it?
So this one is kind of sad in that it's a song, Joy Division song. And it happens to be the song that was released shortly after the leader of the band committed suicide. I didn't know that before today. That is what I learned in my research. And it makes the song much more poignant. But it was an answer to that song, that Captain and Tennille song, Love Will Keep Us Together. Love will keep us together. You know that one?
Sadly, yeah.
Yeah. So, love will tear us apart, right? The opposite of keep us together. So it was kind of a reaction to the bubblegum pop of the era. There's a really great album out there that is all different versions of Love Will Tear Us Apart that other artists perform.
A whole album of just one song, but different people. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how important the song is in terms of influence on the future and what it meant at the time.
Gotcha. Yeah, as we've talked about Joy Division when we brought up their names the past couple of years when we've talked about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They've been nominated but not inducted as of yet. The fact that they get the repeat nominations is a sign that at some point I'm sure they will get in. But yeah, again, what I have heard, what little I've heard from that band, I know I would not be a fan. My common stereotype of whiny, skinny British guys complaining about how bad life is,
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
All right.
Love them.
High five.
High five. And of course, Joy Division members became New Order, which followed with a number of other hits.
Blue Monday, right?
Yes, Blue Monday.
I remember.
You remember?
Yeah. That one I do like. I do like that song.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think it may be their most famous song.
All right. How about I go on to my next shows here?
That sounds great.
All right. Like you, if you're gonna, I did have the idea of having one iconic keyboard player on my list. One of those names that, even if you're not the biggest fan of them, if you're talking about a master of a particular music instrument, it's somebody that you do still have to put into the conversation. For me, I want to talk about Ray Charles and his classic "What I Say." Are you familiar with that one?
Yes.
Okay, classic. Good.
Yes.
We can talk about it. Yeah.
Yay!
Yes, definitely a classic song. I first became aware of it thanks to the original Saturday Night Live crew.
Really?
Yeah, there was a sketch that John Belushi did where he was Beethoven, and then near the end of the sketch, he does the eyebrow thing, but then puts on some sunglasses and starts mimicking Ray Charles and starts singing the song. And then Gilda Radner and Lorraine Newman come out, and then they start doing the hey, hey, oh, oh, hey, oh, that part of the song
Uh-huh.
in there, and like all three comedic legends, of course, but. Um, I didn't realize so years later though that that was a Ray Charles song because like I mentioned before, as a kid, you primarily saw Ray Charles as a commercial spokesperson. His music, as we've talked about, like in the art era, he was releasing like country albums and with great material on it, but it wasn't necessarily stuff that was being pushed out, as the brand new stuff that's out there. Age had a lot to do with it. Race had a lot to do with it. Let's be honest there. But it wasn't until the Ray. I'm one of those people that didn't realize until the Ray movie just how important he was as a musician. But better late than never, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, now you're supposed to know everything before you learn everything.
Exactly. So it's important, I guess, to acknowledge it, but something like that, you shouldn't beat yourself up over it.
Okay.
I definitely feel like I've done that in the past, but it's best to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as far as this song goes, Ray Charles improvised it on stage to fill time at the end of a concert. It was not written beforehand. All of an improvised song. Interesting there. The song was banned on some radio stations for its suggestive call and response lyrics, which were seen as overtly sexual in the 1950s.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the only one that does anything really suggestive is Ray Charles. Like, he does, at one point he goes, huh, something like that. But the women don't necessarily respond in that type of tone anyway. But anyway. It was also one of the first R&B songs to cross over into the pop charts, helping to lay the groundwork for soul music. I mean, Ray Charles brought so much to modern pop music that it's not funny. It doesn't matter what type of music you enjoy. He is responsible for how we enjoy music today. One of the people, of course.
One of the people, of course. I mean, it's just like you can trace us all back to, one common ancestor. It's not Ray Charles, but Ray Charles is among them, for sure.
Agreed.
Love Ray Charles.
Yes. Any thoughts on the song?
The thing about watching the Ray movie is that you get to know things you don't want to know about Ray Charles. And so the songs of his that feature a lot of female vocalists, which is most of them, I think of those relationships. And it makes me not enjoy the music so much.
I get that.
So that call and response thing, I was just thinking about that, and I was like, do they get paid enough? Do they get treated with respect? Not really. Does it then, does it feel sexist to enjoy that music? And I don't think so. But at the same time, it does make me think of unpleasant things and times.
Yeah, I mean, like anything, it's a matter of conscience. If it affects your conscience and it's not something you're comfortable having in your life in any way, shape, or form, then you should not have it in your life.
Absolutely. And who the heck cares what I watch and listen to?
Right. Or me. I mean, some of my taste. Cannibal the Musical, anybody? All right. Well, how about you dive into your next choice here?
Okay, my next choice is from the band MGMT. Who knows this band, MGMT?
I know one of their songs, and it's one of the songs off of the album of the song you chose here.
Okay, the song I chose here is called Kids. And it's I asked you, did you know it? And you said, well, I know it through TikTok. And I think that's the earworminess of this song. That riff is really memorable. It sort of sticks in your craw after you hear it.
I agree. I mean, would I call it the greatest song in human history? Of course not. But who, you know, that is the most extreme comparison, I guess. I mean, but you get my point. Like, it's not something I would know necessarily in terms of that particular song. It wouldn't necessarily be something I would listen to over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've heard from that band, I've enjoyed. I mean, the song that I came to know of them was used in the first trailer for Spider-Man Marvel movie, Time to Protect. And just for whatever reason, just that song, just as you said, stuck in my craw, and wouldn't go away. The lyrics, thanks to the echo in the song, you don't, get the full context of the lyrics, but I think it's just an audio experience that you're going through.
Right.
Yeah, I think they call them a psychedelic band of some sort too.
I don't really know. Like,
Yeah.
it's the kind of band you could look up on YouTube and watch their videos and have it be trippy. Does that make a band psychedelic? I don't know.
Yeah, modern psychedelic. I don't know.
I don't know either. But I really like this song. And interestingly, some of the most iconic lyrics in the song are take only what you need. And that's what I wrote down to remember the song. Because I'm not familiar with the band MGMT, and I'm not familiar with the song Kids. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you tell me, the song is Kids. I could be anything that anybody put out because it's just such a general word. So anyway, the band was playing together in college and recording their session. And as they were working on this song, they made up some lyrics. And it reminds me of the Beatles and Dig a Pony a little bit in that it was purposefully gibberish. Like they were just using words that filled in the number of syllables and the rhyming pattern. And they became the most important and iconic lyrics from the song. And they are take only what you need from it. A family of trees wanting to be haunted. Totally just made up gibberish. I know it sounds like that, but people spend lots of time dissecting lyrics and poetry, trying to give them meaning beyond the surface.
Well, we talked about it when we talked about the song Hungry Like the Wolf in our archives. I mean, yeah, if you just look at a piece of paper with the lyrics written out, you're like, what the heck? But hearing it at the total package, as a total package, that is that song, you're like, I love this. This is great. Yeah.
Similar to that.
Yes, I mean that is the thing to remember about song lyrics too. I mean, I there are a lot of bands that I listen to whose song lyrics are not the best. They're not, going to be remembered years and years and years as poet laureates or anything like that. But still, as the total package altogether, it's still fun. Like a good Judas Priest song or something like that.
Like a good Judas Priest song.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, there is such a thing? Yes, there is.
Kind of.
Breaking the law, come on.
Okay, breaking the law.
You got another thing coming?
No, just breaking the law.
Painkiller, come on.
No.
It's not. Living After Midnight?
I don't know what any of these songs are.
Hellbent for Leather?
I've heard that saying.
Yeah.
I'm hellbent for leather.
Turbo Lover.
What does I'm hellbent for leather mean?
I don't know, but when Rob Halford is saying Hellbent for Leather, it's just cool, the whole presentation.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I guess it too had to go in with their look on stage, but people thought it was initially like biker look, but then Rob Halford, after he came out as gay, said, why didn't people see it what it was? Clothing I got from a BDSM store.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's funny, the people who come out and you're like, oh, everything makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I go into my next choice here?
Yes, please.
All right. I can thank Wayne's World for this song piquing my interest in for me becoming a fan of this band, Bohemian Rhapsody and Queen. Classic song. Classic song.
It is a classic song. We have discussed it many times on this show.
Yes, but everybody has a first episode, so here we go. Definitely a classic of modern music. I would, for me, if I had to put out my number one top rock song ever made that represents the everything that is good about rock and roll music, Bohemian Rhapsody is going to be number one.
Wow.
I mean, easily one of the best songs ever created.
Whoa.
Yes. Freddie Mercury referred to it as a mock opera and never explained the lyrics, saying they were simply about relationships. Freddie Mercury liked to fuck with people, and apparently him and Elton John had like drag queen names for each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And apparently, like, the last thing that Freddie Mercury did for Elton John was like send him, I think it was like either commenting on like a recent album that Elton John put out or something like that, or for something, but just sent him a gift of like this pillowcase and a picture of him. You know, but yeah, good for them there. But the song Bohemian Rhapsody, its multi-track harmonies were created using 180 vocal overdubs, all done with analog tape, no digital editing, in fact.
Whoa, 180.
And they used the tape so much that it started becoming clear. And if you are familiar with that type of technology, once it would go clear, then everything that was on there would be gone. So they had to rush to transfer all of that to a new thing of tape, which obviously they were able to do that. So good for them there, but it was close.
Wow, it was close.
Yeah, the title, though, Bohemian Rhapsody, was originally a working title, but it stuck because the band never came up with a better one. And I think it kind of fits because of it being kind of like a three-act play in a lot of ways, even though the part one and part three kind of bookend together. It still feels technically four, because you have the piano at the start, you have the opera part in the middle, you have the rock part, and then it ends with the slow piano part again. So, you know, the first and the fourth part together feel the same. Everything else is different. So it feels like an opera type of thing, and Bohemian Rhapsody fits it, even though it doesn't refer to anything in it, you know. But your thoughts on Bohemian Rhapsody? It's garbage. I don't like it. It's Stairway to Heaven.
I love Queen. I love Freddie Mercury. I love this song. I've heard it about a million too many times. It's a great song. It does, as you say, have a whole story arc going on emotionally, and is a good piece of music. But I'm far from saying it's the best, or in the running for the best song ever.
I will.
Are you talking about in the last 100 years, maybe? Or are you going to put any limitation on that whatsoever?
No, I think I already did put the limitation on when I'm talking about the best rock song ever made.
Okay. I thought you just meant best song ever.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have a bunch of, you know, the guy who wrote, like, Amazing Grace, like, rolling up the sleeves, like, bitch, come on, come on, brah, come on, brah, Amazing Grace, brah.
Most popular song in the world, brah?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, actually, what the most popular song is.
You can't, yeah, you can't touch this, MC Hammer. Yeah, it said you can't hurt Hammer, so... Well, how about you dive into your, should be your last choice, right?
It is my last choice.
Your last choice.
It is by Arcade Fire, and it is called Sprawl II. Roman numeral 2. And the reason I chose Arcade Fire to choose a song from is because they have about 7 keyboard artists in the band. Arcade Fire is one of those bands that fills the stage, if you know what I mean. As members of the band, there's like 20 of them. And they have many, there are many guitar players, they've got many keyboardists, they've got many drummers, and they make a very, huge and beautiful noise. As they do in this song, with the keyboard, catchy keyboard bit. And even though the song is about sprawl, meaning suburban America, and everything that's wrong with it, so it's not like a positive, happy song. But the keyboard riff is. It's
A very unique dichotomy, it sounds like, between the happy keyboard riff and the sad lyrics together makes a unique sound.
exactly Tim. Thank you, Tim the nerd.
Yes, I've learned how to interpret Professor. Anyway.
You just look in my eyes and know what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, I have not heard that particular song myself. By the time the episode's released, I'm sure Future Tim will hear it when he puts the playlist together for our little competition on friendstuckandnerdy.com. But
Good job, Future Tim.
yeah, thank you, Tim. Anyway, any other thoughts on this particular song here?
Well, I can tell you a little bit of trivia.
Let's do it.
It is inspired by Blondie. There you go. That was the interesting fact. It was inspired by Blondie.
Blondie the band or Blondie the comic strip?
The thing is, I mean, it hasn't been specified to me
All right.
which of those, but my assumption is the band.
Yeah, and then when the band listens to this, they'll be like, he's Dagwood. Anyway. Yeah. How about I wrap up my list here before I make another great joke?
That sounds good.
Okay, me and my humor tonight. Anyway, I think we may have mentioned this before during the Val Kilmer episode that we did, because it is a song from The Doors. It was a song that was on the soundtrack to the movie The Doors, so one of the early songs that I listened to on my cassette Walkman over and over again. Riders on the Storm. Raymond.
Was this before or after the Doors movie?
The soundtrack of the movie was... I think I bought the soundtrack slightly, because if you don't know, they even do this today. Like, soundtracks are usually released like a week or two before a movie drops to help build up promotion and stuff like that. So I think, if I remember correctly, I did get the album pretty soon
Was
after it came
this
out.
when you were working at the record store?
No, this is in high school.
Oh.
Yeah, so early 90s. The record store was mid 90s.
Gotcha. I'm in the same era.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
All right. You were close.
I was close.
All right.
I feel good about that.
Well, you should.
Okay, go
All
ahead.
right. But yeah, just overall, I love that song. One of the songs that I feel is perfectly made for headphones in type of music. I don't know if I would have the same reaction if I popped the record of LA Woman on and put Riders on the Storm on and had it coming through speakers. To me, it's one that should fill your head. And, I love how it starts out with the rain, and then Ray Manzarek does one hell of a job on keyboards on that particular song. But some of the trivia here, it was the last song recorded by all four original members.
Oh, wow.
Yes. The whispering of the lyrics in the background was done by Jim Morrison himself, giving it a haunting, ghostly feel. And the storm sounds in the song were real field recordings mixed in with keyboard effects by Ray Manzarek on a Fender Rhodes.
Wow.
So I definitely feel like it. And again, the sound of the thunder and the rain in the song just has a texture to it that I absolutely love. It doesn't feel like an early 60s Phil Spector wall of sound type of deal. It's just a sound that it feels like it envelops you, or just the whole song. One of their best. Do you have any thoughts on Riders on the Storm? If you're familiar with it, you may not be.
I'm very familiar with it. I'm very familiar with it because I was slightly older than you. I was probably 16, whereas you were 14 when the Doors movie came out. And as a 16-year-old, I was ready to be in love with Jim Morrison. By the time I saw the movie, I wanted to go to Paris to his parade. Like, millions of people go there every year.
Yeah, like apparently that cemetery and the people in the neighborhood really complain about all the fans that show up, but the tourist dollars that come their way more than makes up for it. That's why they don't, because in theory, they do have the ability to say, we don't want Jim Morrison buried here anymore. Yeah, so they could have it exhumed and sent someplace else. But the tourist money that comes in far outweighs any sort of nonsense, bad Morrison fans can do. I'm sure there are plenty, our trip to Seattle that would go to a place like Morrison's grave to pay their respects in a positive.
Yeah.
But there are also people that would vandalize, and be stupid,
So they're going.
Yeah, or something. Anyway, but classic song, and I think if anything, what I encourage our friends at home to do is just listen to the music. It would be great if you voted on our poll on friendstalkingnerdy.com.
Vote for me. Vote for me.
Or vote for me, but at the end of the day, enjoy the list of music that we put out. Do you have any final thoughts about the keyboardist we mentioned?
No, I think we did a very good job, and I think if people go listen to those playlists, they'll hear a wide range of interesting music.
From me, not you. Anyway.
I think the combo is good.
Yes. Well, anyway, before we wrap things up here, you have rejoined the city of Portland, Oregon after an excursion to the Oregon Country Fair.
That is right. I have just returned from 20 days at the Oregon Country Fair, where I worked in the fair's communications and dispatch organization. And the fair was really successful this year. We sold out on Saturday. The weather was hot, but wasn't 100 degrees like it was last year. Everything went really well. There were no really bad emergencies that happened. It's really interesting to be there and be not, going around and enjoying music and looking at crafts and eating food. Well, I ate a lot of food, but I didn't really experience the fair like other people do because I was listening to everything that was happening from everyone across the fair site and, hearing oh, there's an ice truck that's stuck. Or, oh, there's an ambulance that needs to come in this particular gate. And, hearing how those problems get solved, because I'm not that person who's going to make decisions about that kind of stuff. I really was trading radio batteries and charging radio batteries and dealing with people's very basic questions, sort of like a receptionist. So I didn't need to know. It was more like I got to know what was happening all around the fair, which was really fun.
Well, we did mention the food earlier because you brought up dumplings, but apparently you had a great experience with dumplings on the trip.
Yeah, there is a booth called Dump City.
What a name.
Right? And it was from Bend. They opened there. And they're interesting dumplings. They're not of a traditional style of any particular origin. They're dumplings that are full of basically American food. It's ethnically adopted American food, if you know what I mean. So it was like a pad thai dumpling and a cheese pizza dumpling. And then they had one more traditional pork and green onion dumpling. They were all quite delicious, but my favorite was the pad thai, which had, a great flavor.
Nice. That is the one beautiful thing about food, because even though you do have, depending on where you are in the world, there will be different cuisines available. It's always fun to mix them together to see what new things you can make.
Yeah. It was a dumpling fusion.
Mm-hmm.
It was just really unique. I'd never seen anything like that.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, one you tried as well was the cheese pizza, but that did not go over as well, correct?
Correct. So if you can imagine dumpling dough like you would, like most dumplings kind of dough, and inside of it, mozzarella cheese and pizza sauce, and then it's boiled until it's very hot. And when I opened it, the cheese just all came meltily out. So it was, I'd say, it, tasted fine. It didn't change the taste of it, but it made it more difficult to eat.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I can put cheese on most anything, but I get that as well in terms of when it melts extremely fast. It's like, bleh.
Right. And it's like this temperature of the surface of the sun.
Yeah, I would be very careful just, popping that in the mouth right away. But me, I'd be dumb enough to do that and then burn my tongue.
I mean, I've done that before.
We've all done that.
We've all done that before.
Yeah.
Just been too excited.
These McDonald's fries. No, no, ah. That was me.
But while I was gone to the fair, you saw a very good movie.
Before we talk about that movie, one thing I wanted to know, and there may be recency bias involved here, and what I mean by that is a memory that sticks today may not be something that sticks a year from now or 5 years from now. You get the point. But what do you think, as of today, as we record this, is your best memory of the fair this year?
My best memory, I'm going to take that to mean the most positive memory I have, and the thing that I think most of that was positive, because I did have one negative experience at the fair this year. And I don't need to talk about it here, but it is the thing I probably think of most when I think about the fair. So I don't know if that's the right question. I'm not sure what the right question is, but I will tell you something great that happened that I have thought about and felt really proud of. And that is that I performed at what was called the Secret Show, which was in basically somebody's camp. It was in the shape of an amphitheater. And they had a stage, and basically anybody could come perform. And the person who performed before me was a 2.5-year-old toddler in very shiny and fluffy clothing, dancing to Jolene. And the crowd went wild. And then it was my turn. And oh my God. I basically didn't look at the audience and very quickly exited the stage. But I did play the song correctly. And people came up to me the next day and, told me they enjoyed it, which I thought was great.
It is interesting how nerves will fuck with you in a situation like that because, like, most people going there are, going to treat, a person our age the same they would treat the 2.5-year-old. I'm sure at the Oregon Country Fair, you weren't going to have too many hecklers involved. They weren't going to throw a beer bottle at the kid on stage for not dancing right, and they weren't going to harass you. But in terms of getting up in front of people you don't know to put on a performance of some sort, can be scary as fuck. That's why you have a lot of professional artists or musicians or stuff out there get prescriptions for beta blockers.
Right.
But you survived and you got good compliments. So it was great to hear.
Yeah, and it was really fun. When I think back on it, I'm like, oh, I did such a good job.
Yep. She did the acoustic version of Slayer's Raining Blood. Anyway.
No, I actually did an acoustic version of a Cure song.
All right.
Yeah.
Friday in Love.
No.
Something more depressing.
Closer.
Yeah.
That's the name of the song. I couldn't remember there for a moment. Closer.
All right.
Close to you. Sorry. Close to you.
Okay. It has a C in it. Well, all right. I'm glad you had a great time. And speaking of great times, to piggyback on the throw to me that you did earlier, I did indeed have a great time twice seeing a particular movie in theaters. Before we proceed, I will put out that I am going to be talking probably about some spoilers for this particular movie called Superman. So even though this episode is going to be released roughly a month after we record this, so basically a month and a few days past the debut of the movie in theaters, if it's something you have not seen yet and still want to be spoiler-free, now's the time to end things. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
But anyway, for everybody else, all 7 of you that stayed, Superman was a hell of a movie. Like, James Gunn knocked it out of the park. I had the happy tears flowing down my face through pretty much the entire movie. Everything he needed to do to restart that series and also restart the character of Superman on the big screen, he did expertly. As we record this, the day before, I saw this movie for the second time in theaters with both of my sons. And they both came out of the theater telling me, and they did an age joke as well, but they told me that this is much better than the 1978 Christopher Reeve Superman. They enjoyed it much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, that Superman didn't have very good effects.
Um, well, and I will say this, for 10-year-old me watching that movie on TV, I loved it. 48-year-old me watching that movie on like HBO Max or my own copy of it, yeah, I get your point. But for me, that movie will always be about the spirit that it created, thanks to the music, thanks to the performances, and stuff like that. But just absolutely blown away by perfect casting. David Cornsweet, who plays Superman, apparently his grandfather was one of the creators of and one of the major writers for the Choose Your Own Adventure series of books.
Oh, whoa, I love those books.
Yeah, yeah. So
I was so into those books, man.
yeah, and it doesn't matter the name. I forgot the guy's name, his grandfather, but there's that bit of trivia. Rachel Brosnahan, the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, plays Lois Lane, and just a modern take on what Margot Kidder did in the 1978 movie, and again, knocked it out of the park. What I like about this film is that it throws you into the deep end right away, kind of like the first Star Wars from 77. You don't have a traditional starting. You have credits, like a pre-roll credits, like in the Star Wars films that open it up, like 3 millennia ago, this happened, metahumans came. They call them metahumans the superheroes. And then, they talked about 30 years ago, the alien came to Earth and was adopted by Kansas parents. 3 years ago, that alien came out and called himself Superman, and 3 minutes ago, he lost his first battle. And then that's how the movie opens up. And it opens up with that scene from the teaser to where Superman just lands in the snow and then whistles for Crypto the super dog. There's a character that stole the show, Crypto.
I'm sure.
Yeah, like apparently ever since the movie dropped, this is an article that James Gunn himself reposted, there has been a 550% increase in dog adoptions in the country since that movie dropped.
I wonder if that's a good thing or perhaps a bad thing.
I am worried about that because you do have a lot of people that do on a spur.
They want a Crypto, and then no dog is going to be that way.
Yeah, no dog is going to be Crypto the super dog. It's just going to be your average everyday dog that, will chew your furniture.
And you've got to train not to shit in the house.
Yeah. Yeah, and trust me, folks, they can get crabby. They can get really crabby. But the character of Crypto just so damn good. What I'm loving about it more than anything is that there's a scene near the halfway point of the film, and they do kind of briefly show it in the trailers, where that giant orb is in the background, and Clark Kent and as Superman and Lois Lane are in his apartment sitting and talking to each other. Where Lois Lane kind of inquires about his taste in music. He says he liked punk music, but then names off some bands, and she laughs at him and calls him like pop punk or something like that. And then, they have a conversation, and she just, in the movie, she doesn't necessarily believe that he's sincere at the start of the movie in terms of his thoughts, because she said, you think everybody is, beautiful and great. And then out of nowhere he goes, well, maybe that makes me punk rock. And I love that the movie kind of embraced kindness, embraced hope. And yes, it is a superhero movie. Superman is not really going to come save the day. And we know it's a fictional movie because the bad guy billionaire was arrested for his crimes because journalists actually did their job and didn't wait for a book deal to release information.
Yep.
But I think the beauty of what these stories can do is one, they can make really people really happy in dark times, but two, I think the character of Superman, even though it is primarily for kids, has always been a symbol of hope. And hearing stories online of people that took their kids to go see it, and there's still stuff hitting social media even today, as we record this, of course, about people seeing it for the first time and just saying how much they loved it. And I love hearing stories of, like, after showings of the movie, you had little kids going out pretending they're Superman, flying the arms, and just one hell of a great movie. The ending song that takes the movie into the credits is a song by a group called Teddy Bears that Iggy Pop actually sang. And Iggy Pop actually came out and, said some very nice things about Superman. Said he's everybody's friend. So if you want any confirmation that Superman is a punk rocker, Iggy Pop did.
Nice.
I encourage everybody, if you have the chance, if the movie is still in theaters when this episode's put out, and I have no reason why it's not, this is the type of movie to see in theaters. It is not Citizen Kane, but you don't go into a movie called Superman expecting the greatest movie ever made. You want to be taken away from the news of this world and brought into a world to where the good guys will win at the end of the day.
Yep, sometimes we need that. Right?
We do. Like, one of the storylines in the movie is that Superman prevented a war between two countries, and a lot of people are reading the current situation between Israel and Gaza into that. And, the scene where the people that were being oppressed, like, you see some of it in the trailer where the little kids are raising the flag with the Superman logo on it and saying Superman. Everybody that was part of the oppressed country, the country that was being invaded at that point, once the kid raised the flag, started chanting Superman. And that's another point where I lost and I had the tears flowing down and all that. Just, again, great film. And one more little bit that I noticed, and I got a quick smile, a couple bits, actually. There's a airport, not an airport, a highway scene where people are escaping Metropolis, and one of the road signs is to Gotham City.
Oh, uh-huh.
So there's that. One of the bad guys, Ultraman, you find out is a clone of Superman that was sent into a black hole, and there's a very good chance that character will probably show up in another film as Bizarro Superman.
Oh.
Yeah, and one of the final fight scenes that happened in the film happened in a real baseball stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, because they primarily filmed it in Cleveland, where Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster actually created the character of Superman. They filmed it in the stadium where the Cleveland Guardians, who used to be called the Cleveland Indians, unfortunately, the baseball team, play their games. And I saw one of the advertisements was the actual advertisement that is there for Meijer, the grocery store from my neck of the woods.
Oh, sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the regional store that created the superstore concept that Walmart ripped off and made more money on.
Right.
Yeah, but it was created in West Michigan, so I saw it. I was like, hey, of course, the Iggy Pop connection as well to Michigan, like, just smiles all around, let's put it that way. I absolutely love that movie. I think if you see it, I think you are going to really enjoy that movie. Just a nice message of embracing kindness, making fun of just some of the evilness out there, because Lex Luthor trained some chimps, super intelligent chimps, to send out bad tweets.
Oh.
So James Gunn was making fun of online trolls by calling them angry monkeys. And then, of course, at the end of the movie, who's chasing those angry monkeys around? Crypto.
Crypto, yeah.
Yeah. But just a great movie. See it in theaters. If you hear this 6 months down the road and it's only available on streaming or digital, or you can buy a copy at your local store, do that. You're going to love this movie.
All right, Sam, I'll buy it.
All right. Any other thoughts before we wrap things up this week?
No, it sounds like a good movie. I'd like to see it.
Yes, James Gunn has had a stupendous track record when it comes to comic book movies. it helps that he's a fan. Believe it or not, if you're going to make a movie on certain, superhero in the superhero genre, you should be a fan of it, maybe.
Yeah.
Unlike some people in the past, like Zack Snyder.
It seems weird that you would want to do a movie about superheroes if you were not a fan.
Well, Tim Burton did it, and he got lucky with the first Batman, but the Batman Returns, not so much. Batman Returns has some great elements. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, definitely a great element there, but other parts of that movie were just utter garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim Burton nonsense, but anyway, for the professor, each Monday we'll have something in this podcast space to entertain your ear holes until we meet again. We bid you adieu.
So long.
And look up.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy
On YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Goodbye, darling.